What's going on, guys? Tyler here. In this video today, I want to, for those who are probably still a little bit getting started or don't know that much about scaling, this is going to be really helpful for you guys. And for some of you bigger guys, this might, I want to really open the floor here for a bit of Q&A for, these are the processes we use for our clients. And so I wanted just to make sure that even what you see is obviously what's working well. It works well for us, and it rapidly tests through creatives and audiences really, really easy. And then obviously into the scaling methods and everything like that. So I just wanted to go through, share this with those, because I know a lot of you, a lot of people either in this group or outside of this group, have questions around scaling and how to get into that. And we've got our methods pretty much down pat. Really just want to have this as a bit of a document that people can look at, utilize, and get an idea of how to go from step 1 right up to step 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got about 3 stages here that we go through, from initial testing and like audiences, creatives, those different kinds of things, right up to now we've introduced, and I've had to change this and spend the last couple of hours playing with this, with campaign budget optimization and how we can move that into a stage 2 of scaling, and then what we do to move into the bigger spends. And right now we're probably more playing with stage 2 than stage 3, but we've got the steps in place to know what to do when we need to do it. So let's get stuck straight in, guys, and enjoy. So the first things we do is coming down to stage 1. So our stage 1, we've got our own different naming conventions and different things like that. The way we like to do things is we will start everything with conversions. Usually we've got a pretty good idea of what the client's campaigns are going to perform like, cost per purchase or click-through rates, what creatives are going to work and what won't. You can obviously start with a PPE campaign at a much lower budget in order to see what the click-through rates are like as some early engagement signals. For some of our clients we do that, other ones we don't. Just depends how validated their product or market is. And so we, like I said, this will all start with conversion campaigns. Obviously we'll start with our end goal in mind as purchase. If it's a webinar, we'll start as complete rego. This thing applies for everybody, right? Depending on the volume we can get with the webinar client, we may switch it to purchase, but more times than not we'll use complete registration. And so this is how it looks. So inside every campaign, there's a minimum of about 5 ad sets. Now inside the campaign, these ad sets are the exact same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 aren't the same targeting, but let's say ad set 1 is the same here as it is in ad set 1 that's yellow. So the ad set 1s are the consistent variable. So let's say they're just targeting dogs. You might sell animal products, and this one might just be dogs, right? So ad set 1 is targeting dogs, ad set 1 is targeting dogs. Now number 2, you might do something like, oh god, I don't know, there's some Doggington Post or something it's called. So you might do ad set 2 is Doggington Post, and ad set 2 here is the same thing, and ad set 2 here is the same thing. So what you're doing is you've got a controlled variable, right? You've got your audiences, they're all controlled, those kinds of things. Why we split it into a campaign? Each individual campaign has its own unique creative that we're testing. So what we're quickly going through and able to discover very early on is, 1, which creative works, and we can see it from the overview of the campaign, but then we can also dive in a bit deeper and see which ad set, which audience is actually responding best to which creative. So I've put 3 here. Honestly, you can go as deep as 5 to 10 if you really want to. It's just about how much time you can commit into an ad set, whether you've got 1 or you've got 20, and obviously whether it's you or you've got a campaign manager doing it for you. So that's the typical flow of stage 1 that we move through. From there, we'll distinguish making sure that they are reaching KPIs, so that's always different per client. What we do next, though, is a little bit different to how some people do it. So we'll take those winning. Oh, and obviously we've added some audiences here to test. Once again, this is something we use internally as well as obviously externally, or what I'm sharing with you now. But our results and what we define as the winner is obviously what we want to be able to pull is the winning audiences and creatives, right? What we do next, like I said, is a little bit different. We found a targeting, done all that, different variations and stuff, and by all means you can look into this. A few really good ones in here would be top 20% of the 20% of page viewers, so you can find that through your analytics, which is really, really cool. For those who, you should all know maths, but that's your top 4%. Following the 80-20 rule, there's usually a significant difference, and actually it's worth testing against. We've tested it against through all of our clients' campaigns, and it comes up better every single time, so it's really, really cool. You've also got the 20% of purchases in terms of volume, and in terms of volume of purchase, like dollar value, and then volume of how many times they've actually purchased as well. So depending on your store, that figure works exceptionally well. Now when it comes to ROAS, just while we're on this topic, This one here, the bottom one, the 20% of 20% of purchase order value, they've outperformed. They've almost doubled the ROAS value versus other ones. So it actually works phenomenally well, and something that I would highly advise you guys to test out. Then obviously your basic interests and stuff, but we don't need to go into that. Now, when it comes to once we've found the winning audiences and creatives, what I like to do is move them into what I like to call an incubation campaign. This is just so we can accelerate the social proof on campaigns. Most of the time, the creatives will develop social proof based on, as a byproduct of the budgets that we're running. However, what we like to do is acquire social proof for any creatives that we're not using, as well as ones that we are using. So we'll have somewhere between 1 ad set to maybe 3 or 4 with all these different creatives in it. Now I put 1, 2, 3 here just because there's 3 here, but if you've got 5 tests running or 5 winning creatives, you throw them all in there. So you don't hold off, you don't be stingy with it. You throw them all in there so that Facebook can keep populating the best ones, or usually it's got a pretty even distribution. If you want it to have a perfectly even distribution, then what you can do is just create a single ad set with the single creative, because you know that they're all winners anyway. So single ad set, single creative at like $2 to $3 a day, and it just kind of sits there and turns over. You might get some sales, but you don't really push for that. And then what we like to do is we store all our creatives and audiences into what I like to call the creative bank. That simply just talks about which audience, which creative is converting best, and what were some of the KPIs to look for. So we have that all in history. We keep that in a Google Doc. It's nothing too special. It's just simply something we hold on to for tracking and history purposes. So for those who aren't currently doing that, it might be something worth looking into. Then we move into stage 2. Now, this is where we move now into campaign budget optimization. It looked a little different before. It was probably a little less consistent, less controlled than we would have liked, and there was a lot more time involved in stage 2. Now, because of Alex and his sort of shotgun approach, we've been playing with that and had some really cool results. And so we've gone and implemented this within all of our clients' campaigns and how we like to do things. So now within stage 2, what we do, we switch things to campaign budget optimization. We find the winning creatives. We stack them all into the same ad. So obviously you want to have somewhere between 4 to 8 different creatives depending on budget. We like to have around 6 to 8. And what we do is, so we put winning creatives 1, 2, 3. Obviously you can have up to 4, 5, 6 really if you want to. And we'll duplicate those ones using the same post ID. So that at this point these guys all have the same post IDs before. All the social proof is there and stacked. So method 1 that we like to use for campaign budget optimization is stacking at an auto bid. Putting the campaign budget at around 10x the CPA just to really pump some budget into it and make sure that it's going to maintain a level. What you'll find, or what we found, is that with the ad sets, some ad sets will outperform others, and if you run them individually, on the odd occasion, it'll get a lesser CPA than what your CBOs will. However, on a more sustainable long-term level, your campaign budget optimizations win every single time when we've looked at how things have performed. Some days with individual ad sets, you'll have things be 2x the CPA that you're used to, and then other days it might be less than your CBO. But on a daily basis and over historical periods, we're seeing that CBO is the most consistent way, which is great. And then you tie in rules, which we'll get to as well, and it tends to work really, really well. So anyway, we keep this on auto bid and we just stack the audiences in there. So we might find one winning audience, and it might be the Doggington post worked really well for the specific product. So what we'll do is we'll stack all of these just with the same Doggington post, all with campaign budget optimization. And like Alex explained in his previous video, what you'll find is that they work really well. We'll spread it evenly across the board until it finds the winner, and then we'll just stack the budget into that. And then when it comes to increasing the budget, you can be a bit more aggressive because as far as we see, it doesn't affect it as much as what it would on an individual ad set level, which is really cool. So then, you can scale this quite aggressively. Your budgets can go from 50 to 100 a day up to thousands a day very quickly, because if you've got a stack of different winning ad sets, winning audiences, we go and follow the same processes for this. So this is only audience 1. Let's say we had 6 different winning audiences. We do 10x the CPA and it's at a 12 CPA. Very quickly, we're at something like $950 or so as a CPA if we did that. 125 by 6, I think. No, that's not right. It's something like that though. And then like I said, we repeat it with all winning audiences. The next thing what we do is CBO method 2 is coming down. Once again, the campaign budget starts at 10x CPA. Oh god, let me just put this in so my guys don't get confused. So conversion campaign, CBO. This one's at a manual bid, so it's the lowest cost bid cap. Exact same processes. So as you can see, it's all winning audience 1. Oh crap, let me put this in. As you can see, this is still just a few minor things that I need to just add in. So yeah, what we like to do is we start at the lowest at 2x the CPA. So let's say we're getting purchases at 10. We'll put a CPA at 20, and then we'll do 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, up to 5, and then a 10x. So we throw the 10x in there just simply because we know it's going to get a lot of spend, but because of our rules, if it doesn't do the job that we need it to do, which is get cheap sales by flooding the market with a great offer, we're simply going to turn it off. We've only got that there just for the sake of it may perform better than others, and because we're controlled with our rules, we're willing to do that. You don't need to add the 10x, but we just find it's a good one to have in, and it has its days where it'll pull through over the other ones, and that's what we aim to see with it. So yeah, that's a really good one, depending on how competitive your market is and whatnot, and that's included. That's, I guess, a part of Tim's bully method, but. And then looking at it, so method 2, you would repeat that again with all the different winning audiences. Once again, your budget can ramp up really, really quickly by having these different methods in there. So you can quickly go from 100 to a few thousand very easy by implementing method 1 and 2 together and seeing how it goes, and then just controlling them with budget, with rules and whatnot. Really, really quickly, especially if you've got a couple of different bid styles and different audiences and those kinds of things. Now, something to note, while you are focusing on method 1 and 2, or you're in stage 2, you do want to continue stage 1 with different audiences. The reason being is this will keep turning over and keep spitting out different tests, and what you can do is have 2 different ad buyers if you've got a team. 2 different ad buyers, one that focuses specifically on tests that populates the winning creatives, so that then stage 2, there is one person specifically working on stage 2 on the optimizing and scaling, so it's more of like a method or more of a production line, so someone only focuses on testing and works with the designers to get creatives, and then stage 2 works on just optimizing and creating these different ones and goes into the creative bank in order to find new creatives and audiences to be able to move into method 2. Anyway, that's something you can do for those who are media buyers, maybe have a team, maybe a small team, maybe don't have enough, but that's, yeah. Anyway, moving on. And then 3, this is something that we've kind of been playing with. It's still quite fresh, so it's nothing to say that this is a solid absolute winner. These 2 up here we've played with more, and once again seen really good results. Down here, this is just another one where we combine all of our winning audiences, winning ad sets into the one budget, simply so Facebook doesn't have to just have one control variable, which is obviously the audience, inside the campaign budget that it optimizes for. We're going to have everything in there, but we're going to have duplicates because, as we know, some ad sets some days will perform better than others. It's like a mini shotgun where you've got all your audiences in there combined together, simply to share the distribution around, and just some days one will perform better than one. Like, for instance, one day winning audience 1 might absolutely crush it, and then the next day winning audience 4 might crush it, and at least it's all in the one campaign so that the budget can be pumped into that one. So those are the typical campaigns we do. Now, as you can see, we move over to rules, and this is a straight away thing. So as soon as you set these up, then you want to come over and create your rules straight away. We don't currently use RevealBot, however, we will be moving over there shortly. For right now, we use the Facebook rules. Here's some of the ones we go through. This is all very similar to, or probably identical to, how Tim talks about it. His rules have been an absolute savior for us, and definitely saved us pulling out a few hairs or late nights. So if you're not currently using rules, 100% advised to do it. But what you'll see is all day CPP, the cost per purchase is greater than 2 times the KPI goal, then switch it off. It's obviously not performing too well, and we don't want to let it run too far and utilize some of the budget, especially when we've got our campaign budget optimizations on. If it's spending and not converting, then we don't want the campaign budget optimization to get ahead of itself and spend in the wrong areas. So we'll go ahead and switch that off. All day, if the spend is greater than 2 times KPI goal and the purchase is less than 1, which is really important, then we go ahead and switch that off as well. So this one is accounting for those who are getting sales. This is accounting for those who are not getting sales and are still spending big. So that's really important to have that one. And then we've got some typical shotgun rules that you might have. So 9 AM if the cost per purchase is 2 times what we want to accept, we'll switch it off. And then by 12 PM, we're a bit more strict. And then by 3 to 4, that can probably even come down to about 1.2, 1.3. That's obviously worth testing and different for every different account. So anyway, it's around 1.2 to 1.5x the KPI. We'll switch it off just because by this point they should be either working or not. You don't want to settle or just compensate or deal with it. You should be a bit stricter here. So that's the typical downgrade we'll play. Then by 9 AM, what we'll do is Purchase greater than 3 will increase the budget by 50%. This usually varies, but given that it's controlled rules, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. If the purchases are greater than 3, we'll increase it by 50%. And then by 12 p.m, if the purchases are greater than 6, that can usually hover. Once again, it just depends on your history and what you know about the campaign. This is just an average ballpark for us and what we're used to. We'll increase the budget again by 50%. So sometimes you'll find that they work here and then they don't come to this one because it won't pick up as fast as you'd like. Then other times you'll find they both work. Sometimes you'll find that this one won't kick off, but this rule will kick in. So all those different things apply. So once again, it's just something that you play with. Then what you do, this is like a turn ad set on. So if the cost per purchase is less than the KPI that we're going for, turn it on. This is Tim's like stop loss or to recovery rule, where obviously if your rules haven't or your account hasn't updated in time for the purchases to come through when it's overspent and it's been switched off, it just recovers that because obviously we know that they don't populate as the actions occur. Then here's the yesterday, like if the budget was greater than $10 and it's spent more than $10, switch it back on. So obviously that just means that if we've set up a rule to reduce the budget down below $10 because it's just not working for us, what we'll find is that, and obviously the spend is greater than $10, switch it back on. This also means that if one of these budgets in here, the reason why I've got this is, if it's spent more than $10, actually, we'll just do this. Oops. What we can actually do for the campaign budget optimization, you wouldn't even need to put the budget as this. So that if the spend is greater than $10 and the campaign's currently off, you would switch it on. So what that does is basically if your shotgun rules are turning these off and they didn't get up to $10 spent and they're turned off for whatever reason, it just keeps them off. So that way you can kind of control the machine. Now this number is probably not correct now based on this kind of rule, but anyway, that's one thing I forgot to add in there. And people play with all different kinds of rules. That's one that we just find is a good way to let the campaign budget optimization play its course, but also focus on ones that are working. And if historically one isn't pulling its weight, we want that one to just be switched off because it's not doing what we need to, for as long as we're not in the ad set, so we're not spending all our time there. Now, finally is the more traditional scaling. This is something that, those who have a few $100s or a few thousands per day to spend, you put your daily ad set budget at around 10x CPA. You start around auto bid. You can move to manual if you know what those figures are. This is excluding a lot of the whole manual bidding process because, other than here, because obviously, manual bidding on its own is a whole nother day's worth of trading. So the more traditional methods that we look at is increasing the bigger budgets by around 10 to 20% because it's more significant that way. Minimum 6 ad creatives inside each ad set can range between 6 to 10. We all know the typical kind of scaling methods here. It's just putting a 10x CPA per individual ad set so it can get an adequate spend. And this is where the rules are super important because it's going to save these for if they're overspending, audience 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, and then you put around 3 different ad sets in there. Now this is entirely up to you how many you add in. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3, you can do 10 for all that matters. It's entirely up to you. But this is the kind of thing that we work with. Like I said, our main focus right now for our clients is over here. They don't have the budgets for this. I've just added it in there so that both my team and you guys can see what the next stage looks like, at least for us. You guys might have something that might slot in somewhere between here, and by all means feel free to comment and contribute, and we can build this document out so that it's something that all the ad leakers can hold on to. More than happy to share this document. I'll probably just add a comment below so you guys can access that and make a copy of it because this is our own little internal one. But this is definitely something we can all develop and build on, which I think will be really cool. So then over here, so if you need new audiences, creative, once again, this is more for my team to look at, but if they come over here and they need new audiences, creatives, refer to stage 2, plus the creative main, plus the incubator. So what they do, they follow the line, comes over here, and this is stage 2. But what they also need to do is come to the incubator down here, where there's more creatives that have been stored by ideally a ad manager here. So they'll come down to the incubator, find the ones that they haven't yet used, go pump some budget into that one, move it over here, and then start doing the same thing here. So then you might find there's new audiences, or you use the same audience just with new creatives that you found from down here into the same audiences. You just switch out the creatives and you kind of go from there. So as you can see, it's a fully automated machine, or like fully semi-automated, I guess. But it's just, I'm a real visual guy, and if I don't have something on paper, I tend to just lose my mind completely and have tend to just have no sense of direction whatsoever. So by putting it all on paper, it's made it easier for me, made it easier for my team to understand what we should be doing. And this should be valuable to a lot of you guys. And like I said, if you want to contribute or want to add more to this document, by all means, I'll add a little comment link down the bottom, and you guys can play with this and make your own copy. This is something we've used internally, so I'm keen to see what you guys might do differently, what you think of this, and then, yeah, let's try and build out some epic machine for those who want to contribute and join in. Thanks, guys. Chat to you later.